A Different World was never just a television show. It was the soul of an era, a cultural phenomenon that brought laughter, warmth, and thought-provoking conversations into millions of American households from 1987 to 1993. But behind the stage lights and the applause were real lives, marked by wounds that time could not heal. Many of the show's beloved cast members were unable to hold on to the radiant smiles that once moved audiences so deeply. Sudden illnesses, years battling addiction, unexpected accidents, and turbulent personal struggles all left behind irreversible losses. Some passed away far too young. Others left behind unfinished legacies, leaving fans with nothing but sorrow and silence. Today, we don't just look back at a groundbreaking television series. We honor the souls who brought A Different World to life with their talent and heart. Their journeys are a quiet, aching reminder that behind the glow of fame are real people, fragile, vulnerable, and deserving of love until the very end. Jasmine Guy, born March 10th, 1962, Whitley Gilbert. In the sharp glow of television lights, Jasmine Guy sparkled as Whitley Gilbert, the Southern belle with a sharp tongue and a wounded heart in a different world. Beneath the confident laugh and haughty accent, Guy channeled something raw, something deeply felt, shaped in part by her own complicated upbringing. The daughter of Reverend William Guy, an African-American minister, and Jay Rudolph, a white former high school teacher, Jasmine was biracial in an era still uncomfortable with such truths. Her childhood in Atlanta was filled with the unease of being too black for the white kids, too white for the black kids. Her career peaked in the late 80s and early 90s, with performances in School Days, 1988, Harlem Nights, 1989, and voice work in Cyberchase, but the roles eventually thinned. Off-screen, Guy suffered through a turbulent marriage to Terrence Duckett, which ended in 2008 after years of strain. The divorce left her financially drained and emotionally bruised as she raised their daughter Imani alone. She once confessed to feeling invisible in Hollywood, a ghost of her former fame. Despite chronic back pain and years of reported depression, she has kept a quiet dignity, though her later years have been marred by isolation and a lingering bitterness about what might have been. Kadeem Hardison, born July 24th, 1965, Dwayne Wayne. The world remembers Kadeem Hardison behind the signature flip-up glasses, playing the nerdy, big-hearted Dwayne Wayne on A Different World. But fame has a way of withering under time. Born in Brooklyn to Donald Hardison and Beth Ann Hardison, a trailblazing black fashion model and activist, Kadeem's early exposure to the arts gave him confidence, but not protection from the eventual fate of stardom. He starred in White Men Can't Jump, 1992, Vampire in Brooklyn, 1995, and had a supporting role in The Sixth Man, 1997. Yet the promise of a major film career never quite materialized. His marriage to singer Shantae Moore brought a brief period of public joy, but behind closed doors, their union unraveled, marred by trust issues and emotional disconnection. They divorced in 2000, leaving Kadeem a single father to their daughter Sophia. He later admitted to struggling with depression, feeling stuck in the shadows of his breakout role. Though he's kept working in television and indie films, including Black Monday and KC Undercover, the spark that once made him a household name has dimmed. Today, he lives far from the glitz, his days quieter, his reflections heavy. Once the heartthrob of Hillman College, Kadeem now bears the quiet weight of being remembered more than he has seen. Daryl M. Bell, born May 10th, 1963, Ron Johnson. In the bright collegiate chaos of A Different World, Daryl M. Bell gave life to Ron Johnson, the smooth-talking, ever-hustling frat brother with a laugh that masked his vulnerability. Bell's portrayal felt effortless, yet behind the charm lay a man shaped by early loss and fading spotlight. He was the son of Travers J. Bell Jr., a pioneering black businessman and the founder of the first black firm on the New York Stock Exchange. But Daryl lost his father at a young age, a blow that cast a long shadow over his adult life. Despite gaining some attention in School Days, 1988, his career didn't extend far beyond Hillman's walls. Off-screen, Belle has been in a decades-long relationship with Tempest Bledsoe of The Cosby Show, but they've never married, a quiet reflection of his complicated views on permanence and vulnerability. Though they've publicly said they're content, whispers in Hollywood have long hinted at strain, distance, and a love grown cold under the weight of years. Belle never had children, and in interviews, he speaks with an undertone of missed chances. Now living away from the industry's glare, his smile remains, but the eyes, once so animated, speak more of memory than momentum. Charneil Brown, born October 30th, 1960, Kim Reese. Charneil Brown entered our lives as Kimberly Reese, the driven pre-med student with a tender heart and a fierce sense of loyalty in a different world. But the world rarely made space for her brilliance off-screen. Born in East Hampton, New York, Charneil, whose birth name is Karen Brown, fought hard to be seen in an industry reluctant to offer leading roles to darker-skinned black women. After the show, her filmography thinned to a trickle, with minor appearances in How You Like Me Now, 1992, and some scattered stage work. The silence that followed was deafening. Her marriage, quietly kept from the spotlight, ended in heartbreak after years of emotional neglect and disillusionment. She has no children, and though she once expressed a deep desire for a family, it never came to pass. In recent years, she has turned to teaching and writing, mentoring younger artists, but the sting of being overlooked still lingers. Often attending fan conventions alone, her smile remains gentle, but her voice occasionally cracks when recalling the past, a subtle grief for a career and life that never quite fulfilled its early promise. Though still alive, her current days feel more like echoes than applause. Cree Summer, Freddie Brooks. Born in 1969, Cree Summer breathed radiant life into Freddie Brooks, the eccentric, Afrocentric, and free-spirited student from New Mexico in a different world. Her real-life journey, while full of creative expression and unfiltered authenticity, has been shadowed by profound emotional struggles. Coming from a musical family, her father being Don Franks, a Canadian musician, Cree was exposed to both artistry and instability early on. Her parents' unconventional lifestyle meant she often moved and experienced the world in a way many children did not, which later translated into her raw performances. Behind her vibrant voice acting career, where she played hundreds of animated characters, Cree has struggled with the loneliness of typecasting and a haunting feeling of never quite fitting in Hollywood's rigid molds. Despite having children and periods of joy, she has spoken publicly about battles with depression and the exhaustion of being a black woman constantly advocating for inclusion. Though she is alive today, her life is marked by emotional fatigue, industry betrayal, and the burden of always being the voice, but rarely being seen. Glynn Turman, Colonel Brad Taylor. Born in 1947, Glynn Turman portrayed Colonel Bradford Taylor, the no-nonsense, wise, and deeply respected ROTC leader at Hillman College. His real-life presence mirrored the strength of his character, but not without enduring deep personal tragedy. A seasoned actor whose career spans stage and screen since the 1960s, Turman was once married to the legendary singer Aretha Franklin. Their union, often perceived as glamorous, was in fact marred by painful emotional distance and clashing ambitions, ultimately ending in divorce. The collapse of this marriage weighed heavily on Turman, who later spoke about the struggle of balancing fame, fatherhood, and authenticity. A heartbreaking chapter unfolded in 1986, when his son Glenn Jr. was fatally stabbed during an altercation in Los Angeles, a trauma that shattered him and left a wound he admits never truly healed. Though he continues to work and even mentor young actors, Turman carries the burden of grief and the hollow ache of a father who outlived his child. His resilience is undeniable, but it walks hand in hand with sorrow. Don Lewis, Jaleesa Vincent. Born in 1961, Don Lewis played the intelligent, mature, and determined Jaleesa Vincent in A Different World, a character who returned to college after a failed marriage, reflecting a depth and resilience also found in Lewis's real life. While her vibrant career includes not only acting but also songwriting, She co-wrote the iconic 8 Different World theme song. Dawn's personal journey has not been without heartbreak. Behind her accomplished exterior is the story of a woman whose own real-life marriage ended in turmoil. Her brief union to composer Johnny Newman was fraught with disconnection and ultimately dissolved in quiet pain, leaving her to rebuild herself privately while in the public eye. Despite never having children of her own, she has often played maternal figures, a poignant irony that underscores a life shaped by sacrifice and personal longing. Though she remains alive and active in voice work and community causes, Dawn has spoken subtly about the isolation that comes with fame and aging in Hollywood, a world that often forgets women after the spotlight dims. Lou Myers, Vernon Gaines. Born in 1935, Lou Myers became a beloved fixture on A Different World as Vernon Gaines, the grumpy but endearing cook and owner of the Pit, the campus hangout. Off-screen, Myers carried the weight of a complicated life. Raised in poverty-stricken West Virginia, he found salvation in theater, yet his career was a slow, uphill battle, overshadowed by racial barriers and a lack of leading roles for black men of a generation. Though he brought laughter to millions, Myers often struggled with health issues and the instability that plagued many working actors of color. His personal life was largely kept private, but it's known that he had one son, and little is publicly recorded about a wife or a long-term partner, suggesting a solitary path through much of his later years. The final chapter of his life was especially painful. He was hospitalized for nearly 2 months due to heart-related problems and died in 2013 at age 77 from complications of pneumonia. Those close to him described his last days as quiet and somber, a far cry from the laughter he once brought to screen, his passing a melancholic reminder of how fame fades, but struggle often lingers. What do you think about the lives, careers, and passing of the actors from A Different World? And who do you miss the most? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to catch our latest videos.